Welcome to the tutorial of the staircase, made for my MiniVision dollhouse dining room. If you haven't already, be sure to check out the dining room tutorial, where we get the whole space ready for the staircase. For now, let's get to it. I had pulled out the original staircase with not much fuss, and now that my dining room was all prepped and vacant, I could measure out the space. I wanted the new staircase to be much more substantial and hoped to include a built-in shelf and cupboard unit. The staircase was the first thing that I had started building for the dollhouse, and it's only now looking back that I realize how ambitious this truly was. But I took my time and tried to do my research. To cut it all out, I started with a huge wooden board bought from my local hardware store and took the time to carefully measure my staircase. By using my Dremel to cut it out, I could use the negative of the board as the back face for my staircase. That rhymes. With two perfect reflections, I used my safety blade to cut out the hole for the built-in. I cleaned up the edges before moving on to cut out the other pieces. This was really starting to feel closer to IKEA and their fancy furniture, and I had decided that beveled edges defined fanciness. I originally tried using my Dremel in an attempt to shave them down, but I wouldn't recommend this method. I swapped out to sanding the beveled edge by hand. Ooh, very fancy. With all my pieces ready, I could start the assembly using superglue. Each shelf was glued to spacers so they could withstand downward pressure. I glued an inside lip to support the cupboard doors, as well as reinforced along the outside edge for extra strength. Then I could measure out the center and add a middle beam for the doors to close against. If you can't tell, I love superglue, but it wasn't going to give us the strength or seamless finish that I was after. I started with multi-purpose filler to seal all my hand-cut edges, and I got right in there to every nook and cranny. I used my brush to smooth it all out while it was still wet and sanded it once it was dry. I fit the front face of the staircase against the built-in unit and attached it in place with more superglue. I couldn't have an empty space between the two faces of my staircase. Wow, okay, that one rhymed. So I used layers of cardboard glued to one another to create a dense but lightweight support. I shuffled everything around until I was absolutely sure, and then I started gluing things into place, including the front faces of each stair step. Again, super glue just wasn't going to cut it in the long term, so I always backed it up with my super strength wood glue. I used my filler again to go around and make each edge fully seamless. Any remaining gaps inside the staircase were filled using expanding foam. This helped to fill the spaces under each stair step, as I didn't want pressure being placed on them without full support underneath. It was so satisfying to finally pop each stair step into place. I followed my favorite routine of high-quality wood glue and filler before sanding it all smooth. I do love my filler, but left as it is, it's easily scratched and chipped away. Applying coats of wood glue created a strong, smooth veneer. It also gave me a consistent surface that I could prime. I started painting the stairs by laying down a base tone for the wood. I painted delicate wood textures using layers of different tones and washes. Everything was going so well, and it was time to make those cupboard doors. I had decided on magnet sheets to help hold the doors closed when they weren't being played with. I cut out small squares in the doors to fit them. I had bought these adorable miniature hinges and couldn't wait to try them out. They were so small and fiddly, but I finally secured them in place with a quick tack of glue. With bated breath, I got ready for the test run. Dang it. So I opted for the small nails that came with the hinges. Unfortunately, these went straight through my cupboard door. I snipped them and lazily fixed them with a strip of wood and tried them one more time. There were lots of gaps and it was all slightly crooked. I was frustrated and exhausted. I put the stairs aside for a while and tried to find my sanity by working on other things. This surprisingly worked out well, as it allowed me to continue practicing my skills. Ultimately, I went back and rebuilt the doors, and with my new confidence, even elevated their design using a thin veneer on the front face of the cupboard. Now that's fancy! I also bought new magnets and had to cut bigger holes. I drilled the holes for the handle and traced them out before sinking them in slightly. The difference between these and my original doors is huge, and even mistakes were easier to deal with. Another change along the way had been the decision to include a support beam. I had measured it in the house and decided where I wanted it to go. Now I just had to cut the space for it in the staircase. I carefully broke the edges away piece by piece. Then I was back to struggling against these cupboard doors, working tirelessly to make sure that they were gonna fit and line up straight. Everything seemed to be looking smooth, and I could build in my magnets. But the square ones ended up being so bulky and interfered with one another when the doors were closed, being so magnetic and all. I finally decided on using a house nail cut to length in the doors and a single magnet in the middle beam. But that meant I would have to now repair my original magnet holes. I filled the little squares with cuts of wood and wood filler. I smoothed it all out like I'd never been there. Then it was time to drill the hole for the hinges. With all the hardware sorted, we could get some painting done with my Dollhouse sidekick. I was far more careful the second time around when installing these hinge nails and had trimmed them for the doors this time. For extra security, I brushed it over with UV gel, being sure not to get any on the hinge itself. Now I could drill the complementary holes into the unit, but only to about halfway, so I could still hammer them the rest of the way in. Off screen, I also applied UV gel to the inside of the hinges. Then all I had to do was twist on the little handles. Everything actually worked. Despite the struggles, the staircase was an introduction to everything the Dollhouse was going to throw at me. But it was also one of the most satisfying pieces to create, as it was so visually striking and impressive. I had worked hard to measure things right, and even the beam fit snugly into place. Once I'd sealed all the edges and cleaned everything up, I was proud to be able to say that the staircase was complete. Thanks for joining me, and stick around for more Dollhouse adventures soon.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel to show your support. See you next time!